the full date for signing the Declaration for Independence?
July 4th, 1776.
Good job.
What a guess.
Like if you don't have that date.
Alright, I'm gonna have to slide it up to the ceiling. Y'all help me to remember to pull it down for Jamie and Quentin later.
Wait, I'll have to remember.
Help me to remember because it has to face the ceiling right now.
Do we get candy if we tell you first?
If you raise your hand and remind me.
You have to move the camera down.
After we're done.
Hey, that's too close.
Coronavirus.
Here.
6 feet. 6 feet.
We'll say that line.
6 feet.
Cool.
Brick.
You can throw 2 darts. Oh yeah.
Kobe.
Alright. 3 points. Alright, we'll just move up. Alright, Brecken, what is the year for, well, I guess full date, because you gotta know full date. For the start for the War for Independence, that battle at Lexington and Concord. Full date. Like a month, date, year. We'll just move around in like an awkward circle.
Wait, what's the full date
Full date.
for the start of the war?
Yep.
April. April 19th.
Good job.
17.
Yep.
74.
Final answer?
76. No.
Final answer?
Stick with your original.
74.
I don't know why
No.
listen to him.
Hold on.
Stick with your original.
You didn't say
Trust
that
me.
yet.
Okay.
No, don't stick with it. Look at that. That's also a soldier.
1776.
1770, April 19th, 1776.
Watch it be 1776.
Nope.
1774.
Nope.
1775.
Yes.
I was going to say that!
April 19th, 1775. Write it down so you know. After you two write it down. You gotta know.
I thought it was Super Saiyan.
Brick.
Yeah.
I just know it's basketball shot.
Alright,
And this one
Brecken.
shows that their name was.
Caesar.
Same color than
Moving on. Oh. It's because the magnets, I think, are so close
Brick.
on the edges, they're trying to like all align to each other. Alright. What is, or who was the leader of the Green Mountain Boys that captured
Oh, come
Fort
on.
Monroe?
Green Mountain Boys.
Let's just start with.
I don't know.
His last name begins with an A.
Steven Adams.
Alright,
Ethan Allen.
Ethan Allen.
Thank you.
Alright, come through, Ethan.
Salt in my fire.
You can slow it down.
I'll look
Just
at it
slide
and
down.
it might slide down, so I'll look in a second.
Slide down!
Alright, let me look.
It's like right on there.
We'll say it's half on it, so you can either take it or read through.
20? I don't know why I want 20. Whoa! It was way up.
It's not
Sticking in. Pomegranate sticking in.
He bought it.
Alright, what is the year for the First Continental Congress?
What's start with?
It's a year.
Egg.
The First Continental Congress?
First Continental
17
Congress.
something?
It is 17 something.
1770 something?
It is 1776, and I can help you any more than that.
1776.
Is your final answer? What?
1774.
Is your final answer?
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Yes, it is correct.
Oh!
How did he just go mad?
What, I guess?
I'm so good.
Really?
I'm getting germ bags. Because I'm a germ.
Don't take too long. Don't take too long.
It's wet, like it's still
Don't take
moist.
too long. Hurry. You're about to get skipped.
I'll take this one.
You will not.
Hold on. You can stand. You can go up.
Homie.
That's pretty accurate.
LeBron.
That's pretty
Alright.
accurate.
Who said, let's see, who made the speech at the second Virginia Convention whenever he said war was practically coming? Let's not do that. iPad.
What if it would have bounced up and hit her in the face? Huh?
Who made the speech at the second Virginia Convention whenever he said war was practically upon us and he said give me liberty or give me death?
Me?
Oh, it's your turn, I'm sorry. Give me liberty or give me death.
Henry.
Okay, Patrick Henry, but yes.
I was gonna say Nathan Hale, but okay.
You just say Henry. There's so many Henrys in this book. Oh, Henry.
Oh, Henry's from Witcher.
Oh,
Oh, he is?
Oh, yes.
I get them all mixed up. They look the same.
Just
Word.
like Forrest, I'm
That
short.
one Henry?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, you have to get Henry.
Oh, sorry.
You should throw
Same
higher.
person. You can't forget.
You know what?
You can't be.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just like
Oh my God.
And y'all are slowing me down. If I can't ask the question because y'all are talking, we're gonna have to start banning talking or stop playing the game. You cannot slow me down. Alright, who was one of the writers that went to go warn that the British were coming?
Oh, let's start with again.
One of them starts with D, one of them starts with P, one of them starts with R.
See that?
I'm just gonna say a D word because I don't know it. Dwight.
No, okay.
Over here.
Paul Revere.
Like, you should know that. He's not Pomeranian too?
It's your paper, you just study. You just study.
He's dead.
Just study. You better be glad it's Thursday.
Why?
It's Thursday.
Thursdays.
It's Thursday.
It's almost
Alright, what is you get another year one. For the year for the Second Continental Congress. Second.
There's too many continental
1722.
congresses.
Yep,
1770 something?
yep.
Here we go.
That's all she can give us.
1776.
Nope.
Oh, I wasn't. I'm not 100%
Nope, I
sure.
said nope, I said nope.
70.
8. Nope.
Wait, what?
1772.
What?
It's the First Continental Congress is in
I thought we were going back in the book.
1774.
Let me
The
get
Second Continental.
Let me get
There's no
the
second
Let me get
guess.
the
Right, the first one
I
was
thought we were going back in the
1774.
book, not forward.
The first one was in 1774.
Yes.
The second one was in 1778.
Well, 1778.
Yes.
Nope.
That's what she said.
Right now. 1775. 1775.
That's what I said.
I thought somebody said 5.
Nope. This is the same year though as the Battle of Lexington and Concord.
Isn't that what I said?
You said 76.
I have no friends.
All right.
Welcome to the golf.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it goes back to since nobody knew it. All right. Who led the committee for writing the Declaration of Independence?
What is the last one covered?
Drake.
Is it
Thomas Jefferson?
Yes.
Whoa, I thought I was gonna
George
miss it.
Washington.
George Washington.
All right. All right.
Right.
Is that 2 or 3?
It's
Two.
2.
So good.
All right.
Second place is winning.
Who was the guy that presented to the colonies and just said we should just become independent? Everyone was thinking it in this era, but who was the guy that formally said it to the Continental Congress? His last name begins with an L. I don't know if you know this one
Texas
from before. It's been a while. I mean, we talked about him. Alright, reckon?
His last name starts with an L?
Yep. L.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it like a
L.
difficult last name or like a
Not really.
modern-ish? I don't know. Modern.
What?
I don't know how to explain it. We're not gonna do that. because-
Lafayette.
You want Lafayette?
Yeah,
No.
that's the right.
What if it was right? I would've walked out.
Alright.
Lee.
Richard Henry Lee. Good job.
What?
Alright, come here. Did you get your next check?
Who was just at the door? They was so
Go away,
Oh my God,
get it.
TikTok
There you
fault.
go, we all have
We're
corona.
all gonna have to get Germix again.
Good job, Ethan.
Not me. 'cause I
What are
didn't
you
touch
talking about,
it.
man?
You touched your face too, so now you get extra.
Oh, I just touched. I'm not in school tomorrow, you guys don't have to.
Does it really matter? We all stand by each other at our
We
waters.
literally do. We literally are right next to each other at our lockers.
It doesn't matter.
We breathe on each other's necks.
Oh, okay, don't be weird about it.
Baseball.
Really wanted to be there. Okay, who wrote Commentaries on the Laws of England? They got. Yeah, who was the guy that wrote Commentaries on the Laws of
It's
England?
record.
Where does it start with? What?
Because that question about Robert E. Lee was for me.
No, Brecken gets skipped because he didn't know it. Sorry, Brecken.
Robert E. Lee
Alright.
produced in the Civil War.
B.
Lost each other at B.
B.
Braid. Is it like Breton? Braden?
Bread.
Brighton?
Bread and this chicken.
No.
Bacon? Breakfast?
No, okay, no, okay.
Bacon.
No.
Is it like a doll? Something like that.
No.
D-A-U-G-H. That's what I
No.
was thinking.
Alright, Ethan?
Let's see if I can get this one. No!
Guess.
Okay, Carl, we gotta go. We're running out of time.
Big. I don't know.
No, William Blackstone.
I was going to say black! I was going to say that!
You're gonna say
Blackstone.
black or Blackstone?
Blackstone.
Black!
Alright,
Why
here are
don't
commentaries and the laws of England. Making up
Just
for
a
him.
Biden.
Alright, gotta keep going. Chris's turn. Alright, Chris, name one of the Patriot advantages. There's like 4 your book gives off, so pick something.
No,
Good job. So strategic,
Wait, what?
strategic
No,
advantage,
Oh.
popular support, experienced
the first
military
one I didn't have to
leaders,
guess on.
foreign aid.
That's good, I guess. You know you can.
Don't get off my
Let's go
darts.
break the board.
This is not gonna, I'm just breaking.
This
Alright.
is why my laid down. I
What
play.
country was our most valuable ally?
Well, you
France.
broke your own vote.
That form was pretty good though.
This is why you're on my Christian Minecraft server.
Okay, don't you distract me. Remember, Jim can
We mean to each other.
Hi.
I just,
Oh, she didn't get Frank.
I try not to.
Slide down.
Hey!
Boy.
What hurts it?
Alright,
Because I'm a girl.
what was a disadvantage that the Patriots, Patriots, the Americans
You got
had
5.
during the War for
No, I
Independence?
didn't.
One of the disadvantages we had.
There's 2 major ones that you both give.
Is it financial?
Finances is one, and the other one is maintaining the
What?
army. You get to throw,
Okay.
Brecken. Come throw your dart.
Finally, actually gonna come up here and do something.
Is this your first time?
What, I'm gonna miss both of them right
Is
after.
she a hand?
Is this his
You
first
already
time?
have hand sanitizers.
Yeah.
How's it feel?
Okay, since it's touching it, and I let
What?
you can either keep the 7 or re-throw.
This man doing that. Head's
I'm
gonna fly
gonna
down.
But I don't care, because I'm already gonna lose.
Oh.
Okay, well let me see.
He's got between. He's got between.
Alright, 13 or 6. Or which one you want?
I
I get to
said-
choose?
You
No,
can
you
re-throw.
get 6 or re-throw.
He's gonna pick that up too.
Keep throwing.
Do it again. Do it again.
That's not gonna help you at all.
Well,
You know that 6 points you just had?
Huh?
alright.
That 6 points you just could have had?
Alright, who was the
6
superintendent of
points.
finance? And he helped us get a much needed loan from France.
It was Robert Morris.
Good job.
I was gonna miss Morris. I was like, what?
No, wrong.
Good.
Not the same last name.
Wrong Morris.
Yeah. Well, his is Morel.
You gotta stop
Watch
there.
out for Ted.
Is that 50 points?
I
Yeah.
don't want people
Wait,
aiming
did
for
you
that.
hit the bullseye?
No, he got stuck in the top.
Alright,
That's
who
gonna be 50
was,
points.
who was the Jew that also helped out with finances? He was a spy, got caught twice, and escaped both times.
What's his last name, sir?
S.
Oh, I just threw out a mess.
C.
Nope.
See?
Sprinkle storm.
No.
Smoith. Smeeth.
Smeeth?
Smoith. Smeeth.
No.
Smoith. Smoith. Smoith.
No.
Smoith.
You're going with Smorth?
Smoy.
Is that what you're really going with?
Wait, can I say it again?
No.
You know, it's my turn in the first place because you skipped me and went to her, so I get another question, right?
Smeeth.
Because you
Excuse me?
skipped me and
Me.
went to her because he got
You
this.
still didn't know.
Smythe.
You may get a second guess.
Smoth. Smothy.
You took a, why are you trying?
Because I know what that meant.
Smythe? Smooth?
No.
Smith.
Mr. Smith!
Haim Solomon. I don't know why y'all got off on
Solomon.
Smith. Yeah.
So why does it spell like Smothy?
It's Salomon. I don't know
read
where
in
you're
the
reading
Bible.
that.
I can't read
Song
that.
of Solomon.
King Solomon. Alright,
I'm gonna remember
let's
that.
keep going. Alright, who was the guy that he was a spy, he disguised as a Dutch school teacher,
S'more.
and he ended up dying though. We're gonna talk about, because your book left off the most important thing about him was his quote, so we'll talk about his quote in a minute. But who was the guy that died? We read
It's
about
not
him.
my turn.
I know. Yeah.
Nobody got it, goes back to you.
Let's start with that one.
His last name starts with an H. Brecken read about him.
Hydro.
You're going Hydro?
I read about it.
Hydrogen.
Hydro.
No.
I don't know.
Hydroxin.
Brecken?
I read about him?
You read about him yesterday.
Oxygen.
Yep.
Does that start with?
H.
Harrison.
Nope.
Nathan Hale.
Yep.
Excuse me? Why are you what?
Alright, Mike can make one more.
17.
We're not sure. Alright, so I already asked for that one. Alright,
I'm gonna
name
tell
one
off.
of the intolerable acts. Remember, Quebec Act gets lumped in with it, but it's technically not part of it. So don't say Quebec Act.
What is some of them start with?
One of them starts with an A, one of them starts with an M, one of them starts with Q, one of them starts with a. I skipped one. Sometimes I skip B. That was one I skipped.
Wait, what?
Ooh, I
Named
know
one of the intolerable acts. We lump in Quebec Act
Bismarck
with
Act?
it, but it's technically not part of it.
Bismarck Act?
Bismarck Act?
Bismarck.
Yeah, I was
No.
gonna say.
Where are you? Are you in the
Bordering Act.
1800s?
So, Boston Port Bill, Administration of Justice Act, Massachusetts Government Act,
What'd you say?
Quartering Act. That's
Bismarck.
what she
Oh, that's the only one.
I knew that one.
Come on.
Alright, who was the Prime Minister during the Intolerable Acts?
Just start with.
In.
Me.
What, his last name or something?
Yep.
Noel Hunter.
Skeeky.
So, we gotta go.
That starts with an N?
In.
I thought it started with a G.
What?
Newark.
I thought it started with a G.
You're thinking of Grenville, it's a different one.
Yeah.
He was Prime Minister during the Intolerable Acts.
Wait.
Go seconds. Gotta go.
North.
North?
Uh-huh.
North?
Uh-huh.
Like the direction?
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Frederick North.
Yep.
This is the
North.
I
dumbest.
knew the first
I figured.
He lies and her. Alright.
Why do y'all stand so far back?
Cause they're
That's
boys.
fine.
Cause he's built like
It's gonna fall
a
down anyway.
Alright, what year? You just keep getting years. What year is the Boston Tea Party?
1770 something?
It is 1770 something.
17.
Oh.
1775?
Sure?
We already.
Yeah.
No.
1778.
Nope.
1777.
Nope.
Wait. 1710
Started over.
something?
It's 1770.
What?
1770.
You're going to switch to 1770?
Yeah.
I think that's closer than
Isn't it
everybody.
73?
1773. 1773.
Why?
No, they're not going to be in order on your test or quiz, so just make sure that you note that you can match up what event happened what day. Alright. You can do.
Bostonian Tea Party.
Yeah. Oh,
Bostonians.
who wrote? So probably I started with Genesis.
Yeah.
So we'll try.
Yes.
We'll try to see if I can make it through everybody else one more time. Alright. Who wrote Common Sense? Technically it's used, nobody got it. Okay. Who wrote Common Sense? P.
Pierre.
Nope.
Who wrote Common Sense?
Common Sense.
Patrick.
Nope.
Not me.
Starts with E.
Last name starts with P.
What's his first name?
Common
Thomas?
sense.
T.
His
What's his
name
first
starts
name,
with
Thomas?
E.
No. Last name starts with P. First name starts with T.
TP.
Don't remember.
Powell.
Nope.
Philip.
Nope. Thomas Paine. Write it down. Thomas Paine.
Like Payne, like P-A-W or P-A-Y-N?
P-A-Y.
P-A-I-N-E.
You know what he did when he was an Indian? Or family?
Let's see.
Paine.
Alright, I think we're just gonna have to just stop there.
What?
I'm running out of time.
I'm so, I would definitely have won if I would have got one of the
Wait,
questions.
I think
Alright.
I won.
I have 40.
I think Ethan won.
I have 41.
Who has 40 or more?
I'm 41.
Brendan, put your hand down.
You have 40?
I have 40.
I have 41.
You have 40 exactly, and he has 41?
20 plus
I'm
17
sorry,
plus
I asked
4.
you 2 questions. I tried. We gotta go. Alright, go ahead and get out your textbook. Sorry.
Murder.
Turn over to page 79. Alright, so 78, 79. So we were talking about the War for Independence, how the War for Independence has started by this point. Do note your dates for it. What was the official start? Like what battles happened to officially start? Anyone remember? Raise your hand.
Me, I know, me,
No.
no.
Miss Norris, I have to tell you. Don't forget to switch the
Wait, I
camera.
didn't call you.
Somebody switch here now.
Okay, stop.
I
They
calmly have my
they probably
hand
blew
ready.
out their earbuds.
I calmly have my
Okay,
Change
you
your
have your hands up
hand.
first. Alright.
Don't forget to fix the camera.
Thank you.
Come on. I have
Why
my
so
hand
special?
calmly raised.
What?
So special.
Alright, so So, now getting back into it, thank you for reminding me though, but remember trying to be too loud because you probably blew out their earbuds or their speakers by doing that. So, sorry. So, make sure you are being calm about it. 70s. We're on page 70. I'm just going back to make sure we covered stuff, but 78 technically, where we left off for it. Okay, we're thinking back over it. What battles were the starts of the War for Independence? Okay, you guys get it first.
Battle of Bunker Hill.
No.
Wait, what? What battle?
Okay.
Lexington.
Lexington and Concord. So Lexington and Concord, make a note for that as the official start. What is the year for the start of the War for Independence? What is the year for this one? Yeah, you got this earlier, Genesis. What is it?
July 4, 1776.
That's your Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
Alright, that was a good try. Alright, so what is it, Chris?
April 19, 1775. 1775.
Oh, Ethan got that, not me.
No, I didn't. I got the day and
April
the.
19th.
yeah,
That's what you're talking about.
Alright, so just make sure that you know that as well for it. So that's the official start. So now we're getting into the actual battles for it as well. We left off talking about several advantages that we had. Do make a note of them in your book. So we had strategic advantage because we knew the lay of the land. Popular support because people don't want to lose in America because it's our land. We also had experienced military leaders like George Washington. We looked at him yesterday, well 2 years ago technically because of editorials. And we also had foreign aid. France becomes one of our most valuable allies, and then several other people came over, not just with France, but also came over to help out as well. Our major disadvantage was lack of unity. We fought as 13 separate little countries all working together, not united, because we're not the United States of America yet. We were just the British colonies trying to become independent. We also had financial problems because they were basically printing their own money, so it was causing massive inflation, so it was causing trouble with that. Robert Morrison and Haym Salomon, to make a note for those two people. Robert Morrison superintendent of finance, so he helped us and got us a loan from France. Haym Salomon also helped out, and he was also a spy, so interesting. Maintaining an army. Now, keep in mind, everyone in Washington's army was pretty much volunteers. So if they wanted to go home, there wasn't a whole lot that George Washington could do besides just ask them, please stay, please don't. And that's about it. He couldn't really do a whole lot for it. So a lot of people would go back home. Alright, so Patriots Fight for Freedom. We talked about Nathan Hale. Alright, your book left off his quote. His quote was, I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. Now what does that quote mean? Thinking it through. Okay.
He wants to die.
Okay, why? Like die for what?
First country.
Yeah, so he understood. Now, that impressed the British around him because even though he was being executed for being a spy was dangerous. If they caught you, you died. They understood that, oh, this person feels very strongly about what he's doing. And he regrets not dying, but he regrets that I only have one life to give for my country. So he's saying, he was basically saying that if I could, I would die over and over again to help my country be free. So it's not just he just wanted to just die. It was the idea of I want to die for something. So the British around him, they were impressed by it, but at the same time he still died. But they were at least impressed of, oh, this person feels very strongly about this. Okay.
Did they lynch him or burn him?
I believe they hung. I believe they hanged him.
Lynch him and everything, right?
Lynch has to do with more idea.
Where's Lynch?
It's more of like mob, like the mob kills you. It could be hanging, but it's slightly different. Alright, so just make a note that Nathan Hale, that he was disguised as a Dutch school teacher, was a spy for us. Unfortunately, he died for it. Alright, so your book points out that there were several kind of battles getting into this section. Now again, your book points out there's way more battles than actually happened than there, because our War for Independence lasts 8 years. We kind of assume it only lasts like 2 or 3, but no, it goes on for a long time. So this is probably the reason as to how come your book just points out major battles, just because we don't have time to talk about each individual one for it. The overall plan of the British was try to divide the colonies. They wanted to divide up the New England section from the southern section. Why do they want to divide up the colonies? Do you think this is more of a strategic, why would you want to do this? Okay. Ethan, you have your hand up?
Wait, no, I didn't.
Okay, Chris?
To get them separate so we can easily take them over.
Yeah, because they understood the idea of divide and conquer. It's much easier to divide it up and then take out the top half and then take out the bottom half. So they understood very practically divide and conquer. So that was the overall goal for the British for a good chunk of the war. So one of the major generals was Sir William Howe. Mark his name on page 79. You're going to see him over and over in the next couple of pages. So he was the major one. They landed in Boston because Boston was the hot spot, and so Boston's having trouble. So they landed in Boston, and they were moving from Boston out there. His brother, Admiral Lord Richard Howe, was also there to help out. And he was more in charge of the Navy, but both of them were there. So they captured Staten Island, and they started to go up from Long Island, Manhattan, and try to go up and try to cut the colonies in half that way forth. One of the major kind of victories that happened early on in the war in 1776 was Washington. He took his troops and he escaped across the Delaware River, but he burned all of the ships, or took all of them with him. Why do you think that he took all the boats with him across the river? Okay.
So they couldn't get across?
Yeah, because the river was so deep and wide, you couldn't just like cross it by wading it. And so because of that, if you took all the boats, well, you're stuck now. And so the British, they could not follow him across the river. At this point, they had lost New York City, because New York City was also a major harbor. So getting New York City was a valuable port. So George Washington knew there's only so much I can do. I can't maintain that. I'm going to have to take my army and retreat and try to not lose as many people as possible, because Washington knew that he couldn't get captured and he couldn't get his troops captured as well. He decided, though, that he would try to go back and capture Trenton, a smaller city. So make a note, on Christmas night in 1776, Washington ferried his troops back across the Delaware River to take Trenton. Now, there was Hessians there. Anyone remember what a Hessian is? Okay.
Someone from Haiti?
No. Okay.
Someone from the state of Hesse.
No.
From Germany.
Okay, Germany, more specific.
Same thing, that's what I said in the book.
Okay, just making sure, because I thought you were trying to give like a nonsense answer. But
No,
yeah,
that's what I said in the book.
Okay,
The
but yeah,
state of Hesse.
this was an area, not quite Germany yet, but yes, it becomes Germany for you. I thought you were trying to give us a silly answer for it.
No.
So,
I could guess.
alright, so just make a note that he went back to go capture the Hessians there. They also captured valuable supplies. Since George Washington's army was having a hard time getting supplies in a lot of cases, capturing the supplies and using them was valuable for him. Alright, a quick question?
What was the question?
Okay, just wait, because I'm gonna have like.
I was just doing this.
Oh, okay. Alright, so looking over.
Nice.
Alright, so this is the map. Your book has this on the next page. This is focusing on Washington's retreat from New York. Just so it's a little bit easier to see, because wrong picture. From this picture, it's kind of hard to tell, and it's so blown up. So New York City is up in this section. So New York City, and so he knew, okay, I can't defend New York City, but I can go across and then sneak back across and take Trenton if I want to. Why are my maps not working? Just gotta keep seeing George Washington over and over again. Alright, so the British, they captured Staten Island, they captured Long Island, they captured New York, but Washington knew, okay, I'm gonna have to I'm trying to escape and retreat. So Washington knew, okay, I can't take back New York City, so at this point, I'm just gonna have to just retreat and cut across the Delaware River. So hopefully this is the right direction.
Just do like chemistry.
I can't tell if it's the mouse that's being too quirky or if it's something's wrong with it. Alright, so
Wait, what did that say? New York?
Newark. Yeah, this is New York over here, so this is just another place. So he escaped this direction for it. Now if you're looking at this picture, this is the Delaware River. They've just zoomed up on it, so it's a little bit easier to see. So again, going back, Delaware River, so snuck across, took all the boats with him, and he said, okay, on Christmas night, going back and capturing Trenton, and then also he was able to capture Princeton as well. So this kind of gave a little bit more morale to the American troops, because it wasn't just defeat, retreat, defeat, retreat, defeat, retreat. Now we actually won a battle. So it helped out the Americans to be able to say, okay, we can do this. We're not just going to be constantly losing. We're doing this. So just make a note that he caught the Hessians from the state of Hesse, and he was able to capture the valuable supplies from it. Alright, is it a quick question? We don't have but 10 minutes.
Was Santa a thing back then?
Yes, because that was one of the things in Holland about the Pilgrims that they didn't like, because it was considered a worldly part of Christmas holiday, so that's part of the reason why the original Pilgrim Progress was left. Now again, Saint Nicholas. Now again, it's been greatly commercialized today, but it was the idea of Saint Nicholas will come and bring you goodies and toys. Well, not just toys, but like candy was the idea back then. Alright, so moving on though. Anyone have any questions about this? Alright. So General Harrison's detachment of British troops to Trenton under the command of Charles Cornwallis. Make a note in him. George Washington had to abandon Trenton once he took the supplies, but he left the fires glowing, looking like that they were still there. He tried to act like a decoy while he escaped off from it, and he defeated the troops at Princeton. All right. At that point, it was cold enough because this is winter, and so both troops had to basically stop moving for the winter time because again, it's cold, and so both troops basically said we can't keep moving around in the winter. It's too cold. We're gonna get our troops sick and die. So he settled down in Morristown for that winter just to wait it out. Alright, so leading into one of the next major battles, this is in 1777 now, so Hubert kind of jumps forward a little bit. Thanks, word. Yes. So, again, their major offense was basically divide up the colony. So, there are 3 generals that are supposed to be moving in this time period. You have General Howe. He was supposed to come up this direction, and you're supposed to have 2 more generals come down from Canada and try to divide up the colonies that way. You have John Burgoyne, so make a note of him. He was supposed to come down this direction and to meet up with General Howe. The other general, Barrymore Sinlinger, that he was supposed to come down the St. Lawrence River, and then cut across and go this direction. So you have 3 different generals. They're all supposed to meet in the middle, basically, and divide up the colonies that way. Thankfully, it doesn't work out that way. General Howe decides, you know what, I don't think I'm going to go up this direction. I'm going to go take Philadelphia instead. Why do you think he wanted Philadelphia? Okay, Chris.
This is a big town.
Okay, but why? Like, there's something there that's important.
Port.
There's something, port is there, but there's something more important about it.
Liberty Bell.
Nope. Alright, Mel, something else?
Oh, it's the
River.
whatever it's called, the like organizers of what it is.
Yeah, the Continental Congress is there. So he understood, okay, George Washington's not the president, not yet. So he understood, okay, I need to go catch the leaders. Continental Congress is in Philadelphia. That's kind of like their capital city. I'm going to go take Philadelphia. So he decided, okay, I'm going to go this direction. The other generals, they should be okay with it. So I'm going to go this way and try to get Philadelphia instead. So that was his logic behind it more. Now, the 2 generals that went down, they ended up encountering a lot of trouble. So this first one, General Burgoyne, he ends up capturing Fort Ticonderoga. He ends up taking it back from Ethan Allen and his people. So he ends up taking back Fort Ticonderoga and going down this direction for it. But he takes him so long to get down here. By the time he reaches Saratoga, his troops are exhausted, they're short on supplies, and there's a fresh other band of patriots. It's not just George Washington and his troops, there are other people that are also leading their own troops. Now, George Washington, he was the major one, and he was the supreme commander, but there are other generals. The other patriot general was Horatio Gates. Make a note of him. So Horatio Gates, he defeated Burgoyne at the Battle of Saratoga. The other general doesn't even make it over to Saratoga. He goes down the St. Lawrence River, cuts across and starts going this direction, and he hits the German settlers in the Mohawk Valley, and so they're able to stop him there. So the general there was Nicholas Herkimer at the Battle of Oriskany. So they end up stopping him there. So neither one was able to make it all the way down. So just make a note that Horatio Gates stopped Burgoyne at Saratoga. And just make a note that Nicholas Herkimer, that he stopped, I know, the last names get kind of hard at this point. He was able to stop Barrymore Sinlinger. Alright, anyone have any questions about this so far? You should mark the people on page 80 and 81. Alright, so the Battle of Saratoga, this consisted of the turning point in America's war for independence. This is whenever France goes, haha, they can actually do this. We're going to come in and be a formal ally now. So this is whenever also the British realized, we thought we were going to win this very easily, and now we're realizing, never mind, we kind of take it back. So this is the turning point for us. We start to realize, we can actually do this. We can defeat the British. We can become free. Alright, so let's make a note, the Battle of Saratoga, this proves to be the turning point in America's war for independence. Alright, let's read about Benedict Arnold. Anyone know anything about Benedict Arnold really quick before we read about him?
One of the most trusted officers and a hero of the Battle of Saratoga.
He was a British spy master.
Okay, let's read through it and see what actually happened. Alright, who wants to read first? Me! Alright, Genesis.
By the summer of 1779, Major General Benedict Arnold was one of Washington's most trusted officers and a hero of the Battle of Saratoga, having continued fighting after being shot in the leg.
Go man.
However, he became bitter when he saw others being promoted while he was not, believing that Congress was passing over him because of politics. Furthermore, Arnold had a maced heavy debt and had married a loyal sympathizer. For these reasons, Arnold began to sell secrets to the British.
So he basically turned traitor. Alright, who wants to read next? Alright, Chris.
In 1780, Arnold received command of West Point, a crucial fortress on the Hudson River, in exchange for
Alright, read a little bit slower so that way people can hear you.
In 1780, Arnold received command of West Point, a crucial fortress on the Hudson River. In exchange for a large sum of money, Arnold agreed to surrender West Point. However, Arnold's plan was revealed when John Andre, the British spy master, was captured with evidence of the plot. Washington offered to exchange Andre for Arnold, but the British refused. The Honorable Andre was hanged as a spy while Arnold became a general in the British Army, expecting that he was welcome in London. Arnold discovered that most people had done nothing but scorn for a turncoat. Benedict Arnold never escaped his debts and died a miserable man whose name became synonymous with traitor.
Yeah, so he was now. We captured the spy master for the British at the time. John Andre. Now George Washington originally said, "Hey, we'll trade you your spy master for Benedict Arnold," because remember he was a trusted advisor for George Washington. George Washington was basically saying, "We want him back, and we need to deal with him ourselves." And the British said, "No, you can keep the guy." Well, he was a spy, we didn't want him, and spies died in this period, so we hanged him. Benedict Arnold, because he turned traitor to the British, the British basically rewarded him by making him a general in their army, and then whenever he went back to England, he thought that the British would still be appreciative to him. The British people said, "No, you're a traitor. You betrayed your own people for money. We don't like you." And so again, no one really likes traitors. What?
Arnold for Andre?
Yeah, George Washington offered to trade him, basically saying, "Hey, well, it's basically like a prisoner exchange of, here, we'll give you back this person if you give it back our person." And the British said, "No, we don't want him. Sorry, Andre. Your own people don't want you back." Okay,
Arnold probably would not hang himself, right?
probably would have. No, again, he was trusted of George Washington, so maybe George Washington would have tried to talk to him and figure out why, what's going on, what is happening, why would you do this? But yeah, it probably would have been hung, just because that's just what happened to spies. If your people caught you, then you typically die.
A loyalist sympathizer, does that mean she didn't like America?
Yeah, she was more loyal to the British. So that's whenever if you were a loyalist, you said what the British were like. So again, just because you were family, you might have different opinions on something. We see this in the Civil War too as well. So it's just one of those where, well, that's unfortunate. But again, you hear about Benedict Arnold, or you hear someone say he's a Benedict Arnold, that means he's a traitor or he's a turncoat. Alright, just make a note, Graham. Alright, dark days for the Patriots. One of the major events that happened was Philadelphia ends up getting captured by the British. Now, it wasn't just our people that got captured. Before the founding of the Continental Congress, they left and they moved out of the area. But George Washington tried to stop Howe's army at the Battle of Brandywine and tried to stop it again at the Battle of Germantown. Unfortunately, it didn't work and Philadelphia ends up falling. So on this map, Philadelphia is up here. So Brandywine's about right here, Germantown's right here, and George Washington could not defend it. So Philadelphia ends up falling. This is the same winter with Valley Forge. So George Washington and his troops, they hole up in Valley Forge to wait out the winter, while General Howe is able to stay in Philadelphia. Now Philadelphia was a nice city, so you could pass the winter there in reasonable comfort. It was not reasonable comfort at Valley Forge. George Washington and his troops were basically starving. So because of that, the winter at Valley Forge was miserable, very miserable. So George Washington, though, stayed with the troops. He didn't just up and leave just because he was a general. He understood, nope, if my troops are going to suffer, I'm going to suffer with them. We'll all just suffer and freeze together. So he stuck out with them and he encouraged them to not leave and to not abandon hope and to not go home. Now, he had the pamphlet, The American Crisis, read to them. It was written by Thomas Paine. So let's read that. It's kind of like it's kind of the block quotes at the top of page 81. Alright, who wants to read that first? Someone who hasn't turned yet, because I appreciate it though. Alright, Brecken. 81, the block quotes. Well, yeah, the block quotes at the top of the page, 81. Wait a minute.
Where?
These.
These are the times that try men's souls. The slumber soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in the crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that standeth now deserves the love and thanks of men and women.
Yeah, so when he's talking about slumber soldier and sunshine patriot, he's meaning that sometimes people, they only want to serve during the good times, but these are the hard times. These are the times that try men's souls, and you should still stick it out. This is whenever he found out in 1778 that the French were coming in to help us now, and they were sending over the French Navy. That's whenever he called for a day of thanksgiving to God, and he said that second block quote. And having pleased the Almighty ruler of the universe, we're righteously to defend the cause of the United States by raising up a powerful friend among the princes of the earth. He's saying we are grateful because that winter was horrible, and we're grateful now that we're having friends come in and help us out. Alright, I gotta stop. So your homework tonight, read pages 82 through 86, and you will notice that's the end of the chapter, so we're gonna finish up tomorrow. So 82 through 86, come prepared, because it's Friday, and I spent a lot of time reviewing today, so you should be ready. So make sure you
Does
are
that mean no
ready.
review tomorrow?
We're gonna review fast tomorrow, because I have to make sure
Wait,
to review on your own. It's 82 through 86. Answer questions 1 through 6 on page 86. But study on your own, because it'll be a fast review. So study stuff I covered today. And
So no darts tomorrow?
What?
I have a question.
It'll take too long. Okay.
Have you seen Captain America?